This is not just a story, it's a real event that changed lives forever. Every detail you've seen is based on true events, a testament to the power of love and resilience. This is not fiction, and it's not to be taken lightly. Before the story unfolds, subscribe to the channel now and like the video, because by the end, you'll be so caught up in the emotions that you might forget. Stay with us for more powerful true stories that deserve to be told. Ethan Roberts had always admired his father from a distance, though that admiration was mixed with deep frustration. Thomas Roberts was a successful businessman, always dressed in suits, always attending meetings, always traveling. To Ethan, he was a stranger, a distant figure who made his fortune but never made time for his son. Why does he always choose work over me? Ethan would think to himself. He's always too busy for me. Growing up, Ethan watched other kids playing with their dads, and he would feel the absence of that lover's father, too busy with his empire to show him any. It wasn't that Thomas didn't care, it was that Ethan didn't know how much his father loved him. Thomas showed his love in ways Ethan couldn't understand, but Ethan grew up believing the opposite. His father didn't love him. He wasn't there when it mattered, so why should Ethan believe otherwise? The ice between a father and son does not form overnight. It builds slowly, in the silences, in the missed moments, in the quiet disappointments that neither speaks aloud. It is in the unanswered questions, the birthdays celebrated with an empty chair, the pride that is mistaken for distance. Over time, love turns into a quiet ache, buried beneath unspoken words and misunderstandings. And before either of them realizes it, the warmth that once connected them has frozen into something cold, something unbreakable until one of them is brave enough to thaw it. But for Ethan, that moment had not yet come. All he knew was the absence, and in his heart, absence felt a lot like indifference. At 14, Ethan's life came crashing down. He had been feeling increasingly weak, constantly fatigued, struggling to breathe after even the slightest exertion. One day, his mother, Caroline, took him to the hospital, and after several tests, the doctors confirmed it. Ethan had dilated cardiomyopathy, a condition that was slowly destroying his heart. He was told that without a heart transplant, his life would be cut short. Days turned into weeks in the hospital, and his health only worsened. His mother stayed by his side, her worry etched into every line of her face. But his father, where was he? As Ethan lay on his hospital bed, struggling to survive, the absence of his father became unbearable. Why isn't he here? Ethan thought, his chest tightening in both physical and emotional pain. Doesn't he care? Does he even love me? His father's absence was the hardest thing to endure. Ethan's frustration grew. If his father truly loved him, why wouldn't he come and be there when he needed him most? Thomas Roberts did visit his son, though Ethan never saw him. Every day he would come to the hospital, wearing his business attire, his eyes tired but determined. He would sit quietly in the waiting room, unable to see his son directly, but always nearby. Caroline noticed the dark circles under her husband's eyes. She could see the worry and pain, but Thomas never spoke much about it. He would come, sit, and leave without a word. He couldn't find the courage to face Ethan directly, perhaps afraid of seeing his son's disappointment or his own inability to be the father Ethan needed. One evening, as Caroline sat with Ethan, she gently told him, "Your father. He's been coming every day, Ethan. He watches you from the waiting room. He doesn't know how to talk to you, but he's been here. He cares more than you think." Ethan, weakened by his condition, barely reacted. If he cared, he wouldn't hide, he whispered to himself. He wouldn't run away. But deep down, he knew it wasn't the truth. He didn't understand it then, but his father's love was there, in his quiet presence, in his sacrifice, in his silent suffering. The weeks stretched on, and Ethan's condition grew more critical. His heart continued to fail. His mother never left his side, constantly reassuring him that they were doing everything they could. But the truth was, no one could promise Ethan the future he so desperately needed. Late one night, when his mother was sitting at his bedside, Ethan, barely able to speak, asked weakly, "Where is he? Why doesn't he come? Doesn't he love me?" Caroline wiped away a tear, kissing his forehead. "Ethan, your father does love you. I know it's hard, but he's doing everything he can. You have to trust that he's doing this for you in the only way he knows how." Ethan's heart ached, but he didn't fully understand. "Then why doesn't he show it?" he muttered, before closing his eyes in frustration. Nights in the hospital were the hardest. The world outside moved on, bathed in moonlight, while Ethan lay trapped in a room where time stood still. His body felt heavier with each passing day, his breath shallower, his hope flickering like a candle in the wind. His mother's prayers filled the sterile air, whispered in quiet desperation, but Ethan had stopped believing in miracles. Miracles were for other people, not for boys whose hearts were failing them. But then, in the stillness of an ordinary afternoon, the phone rang. The voice on the other end spoke words that changed everything. "We have a donor heart, a perfect match." The world, which had once seemed unbearably still, suddenly spun wildly. Doctors rushed in, their voices filled with urgency, their hands gentle but firm as they prepared him for surgery. His mother clutched his hand, her tears falling freely, a mix of relief and fear. Ethan, weak but overwhelmed, tried to process the words. A heart, a new heart, a second chance at life. As he was wheeled toward the operating room, he felt the strangest sensation, not fear, not sadness, but a weight lifting. For the first time in a long time, he dared to believe. Maybe, just maybe, he had been given another tomorrow. The lights above him blurred. The soft beeping of machines grew distant, and as anesthesia pulled him into darkness, a single thought echoed in his mind. I am going to live. The surgery was a success. Hours passed, delicate hands stitching together a future he had almost lost. The doctors emerged with cautious smiles, murmuring words of hope to his mother. His body is accepting the heart. He's going to be okay. And then, after what felt like an eternity, Ethan opened his eyes. His chest ached, but his heartbeat steady, strong, unfamiliar was there. He blinked against the hospital light, feeling a pulse that wasn't his, yet somehow now it was. He had been given life, but something was missing. Someone was missing. "Where's Dad?" Ethan croaked, his throat dry, his voice barely above a whisper. His mother's face, so full of relief just moments ago, shifted. A shadow crossed her features, her lips parting as if searching for the right words. But then, she managed a soft, almost forced smile. "He had to go on a business trip, sweetheart," she said, her voice steady but too carefully measured. "He'll be back soon." Ethan felt his heart drop. A business trip? Now? After everything? Confusion pressed against his chest, almost as if his body was rejecting this explanation more than it had ever rejected his own failing heart. He wanted to argue, to say it didn't make sense, to demand why his father wasn't here, but exhaustion swallowed him whole. He closed his eyes again, and for the first time in days, sleep found him. But deep in his heart, an unease settled a question that refused to leave him. Why wasn't Dad here? Days passed, and Ethan slowly recovered. But the emptiness lingered. He couldn't understand it. His father wasn't gone. There was no way. His father had to be alive, asterisk. One afternoon, as Ethan was resting at home, the family lawyer, Mr. Collins, arrived. He brought with him an envelope, marked with the family seal. Ethan's heart sank. "What's this?" he asked, his voice full of confusion. Mr. Collins placed the envelope in Ethan's hands. This is for you, Ethan. It's a letter from your father." Ethan's hands shook as he opened the letter, his eyes scanning the words his father had written, never knowing that these would be the last words he would hear from him. Here's a deeply emotional and expanded version of the letter, adding more raw feelings, confessions, and heartbreaking realizations. "I don't know where to begin, and I don't know if these words will ever be enough to tell you what my heart has carried for so many years. I have always struggled to express my love for you in the way you needed. I was never the father who spoke in warm words or embraced you when you longed for it. I was not the father who showed up at your school plays or held your hand when you were scared. Instead, I was a man constantly consumed by the weight of responsibility, by the fear that if I didn't provide enough, I would somehow fail you. But in the end, I see now I failed you in the worst way. Not because I didn't give you a life of comfort, not because I wasn't able to give you the best of everything, but because I never made you feel the one thing that mattered most, that you were loved. I wish I could go back in time, Ethan. I wish I could relive every moment I missed with you. I wish I had been there to hear your laughter as a child, to sit beside you when you felt alone, to tell you every single day that you are the most precious thing that has ever happened to me. But I can't go back. All I can do now is hope that you will understand why I did what I did. From the moment the doctors told us about your condition, my world collapsed. My sonny boy was slipping away, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I have faced many challenges in my life, Ethan. I have built empires, fought battles in boardrooms, taken risks that others would never dare. But nothing has ever made me feel more helpless than the thought of losing you. Every night, I sat in that hospital waiting room, watching you from afar. I saw you grow weaker. I saw the pain in your mother's eyes. I heard the doubt in your voice when you asked why I wasn't there. And every single time, my heart shattered into pieces. I wanted to run to you, to hold you, to tell you that I was there and I was never going to leave you. But I didn't. Not because I didn't care, but because I was scared. Scared that my presence would remind you of the time I wasn't there. Scared that you would push me away before I had a chance to make things right. But love is not about fear. Love is about sacrifice. That's why I made the choice I did. Ethan, you have my heart, not just in words, not just in sentiment, but literally. The heart that beats inside you know it is mine. It is yours. It has always belonged to you. When the doctors told me there was no other match for you, I knew what I had to do. There was no hesitation, no second thought, no doubt. I have lived my life. I have built my legacy. But what is a legacy without love? What is success if it means I have to live in a world where my son does not? I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't let that happen. By the time you read this, I will be gone, and I know that you will be angry with me. I know you will feel betrayed, maybe even abandoned. But I need you to understand, Athanthus is not goodbye. This is not an ending. This is the beginning of your life, a life that you were meant to live, a life that I was meant to protect. I may not be there to watch you grow, to see you chase your dreams, to hear you laugh or cry, or fall in love. But a part of me will always be with you. Every heartbeat, every breath you take, it is mine. It is yours. It is ours. So, my son, my Ethan, I need you to do something for me. Live. Not just exist, but truly live. Love with everything you have. Fight for the things that matter. Forgive me for the mistakes I made, but never forget how much I loved you, even if I didn't always show it the right way. And when the weight of the world feels heavy, when you feel lost or broken, place your hand over your chest. Feel the beat of your heart. That is me, reminding you that you are never alone. You never were. You never will be. With all the love I never knew how to show. Your father, Thomas Roberts. Ethan sat there in stunned silence, tears welling up in his eyes. His father, he had given his heart. It was all too much to take in. He had always thought his father didn't care, that he was too busy for him. But now, with this letter in his hands, he saw it all clearly. His father's love had never been distant. It had always been there, wrapped up in every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of silence. He had given his life for Ethan's. Ethan clutched the letter to his chest, feeling the weight of it all. He had never known how deeply his father had loved him. But now, his father's love would always be with him, beating inside him, forever. You've just witnessed a true story of love, sacrifice, and survival. Moments like these happen in real life, reminding us of the strength of human bonds. Before you go, make sure to subscribe now and like the video, because stories like this deserve to be heard. Share this true story with your loved ones so they too can understand the power of real love. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and how this story made you feel. We read every comment.